Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and a puzzle by the great James Sinclair to have a look at today. It's called 70. We get a lot of recommendations actually to cover puzzles by James. He is a prolific and brilliant setter. I will mention actually he has a weekly newsletter that includes sudokus that you can subscribe for. I'll try and remember to put a link to that under the video, but we're doing this one this particular puzzle because it's had recommendations. It's also had requests, so it's sort of it sits in that lovely space where people who've managed to solve it really like it, but there are still some people out there who've given it a good go and haven't been able to get through it. So hopefully we'll be able to scratch lots of itches by having a go at this, if indeed I can solve it at all. It's fairly normal rules. My quick scan through the rules told me just before I turned on the webcam. Anyway, we'll have a look at this in a moment or two's time. Do I have any news for you today? Well, yes, I do. Firstly, my Islands of Insight video did go up last night on Patreon. So Mark and I streamed it a couple of times, but we realised, having streamed it a couple of times, that basically to get through the game is going to take hundreds and hundreds of hours of puzzle time, and unless we stream it for many years to come, we will never achieve that goal. But I still want to play the game, so I'm going to record myself when I do play it and put those videos over on Patreon. I know hundreds of you have already watched that video, so thank you for doing that. But that video is over there now for anybody who is interested. Now, the other thing going on Patreon, of course, this month has been our monthly competition, which closes today. So we are generous. If we receive slightly late entries, we'll still count them, but really you do need to get your entries to us fairly soon. So if you are on the last puzzle or two, do make an effort to finish it off and send in the solution to us by close of business today. Now, other news, I've got some birthdays to do. Let me have a look at those. I'll start off by wishing Esther a very happy 49th birthday. And I know it's your birthday because Jerome wrote to us. And Jerome says that he hears our voices from the living room several times a week. I couldn't say, I should apologise, I suppose, about that, Jerome. I'm sorry, but Esther, thank you very much for watching. And I wish you many happy returns and, of course, an enormous slice of heavily iced chocolate cake for today. And the other birthday I've got to do today is to a young 6-year-old girl called Faye. And Faye, I know it's your birthday today because your daddy John wrote to us. And now John is known to the Sudoku community as Jobo. And apparently Faye likes to watch over her dad's shoulder when he's setting Sudoku puzzles and try to guess what he might be drawing in the grid, which is lovely. So Faye, thank you for starting to get interested in Sudoku, and Faye, I hope you have an absolutely brilliant birthday today with lots and lots of cake, of course. Now let's have a look at solving some puzzles. Well, this puzzle to be precise. Let's have a look at 70 and see what James Sinclair has in store for us. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. I was pausing because I thought I could hear the dulcet tones of Maverick's aeroplane engine, and I can. Maverick is about to buzz past my window. Digits cannot repeat on the indicated diagonal. Right, so along this diagonal we've got to have the digits 1 to 9 once each. The sum of the digits along an arrow is equal to the digit in the connected circle. So those three cells there, you add them up. If these were 1, 2 and 3, 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. You write 6 in here, and then you'd have to make this one add up to 6. So that could be 2, 4. Actually, that one could be double 3, couldn't it? I didn't see that, but I think that's legitimate. So that's some rules about, there's a couple more rules. Little killer, we've got numbers outside the grid, give the sum of the digits along the indicated diagonals. So this diagonal here sums to 14, and this diagonal here sums to 56. And I think that might be where the 70 from the title is coming, because the eagle-eyed amongst you we'll notice that 14 plus 56 is equal to 70, which is the title of the puzzle. So presumably we're going to have to do something with these diagonals. And then digits in cells with a shaded square must be even. So we have 2 even digits in those 2 squares. So those are going to have to be 2s, 4s, 6s or 8s. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I think this had 3 stars for difficulty when I looked at it on Logic Masters Germany. Now, well, I think we should take the low-hanging fruit. If offered low-hanging fruit, do not look a gift horse in the mouth, to mix metaphors. Because that one has a 3-cell arrow emanating from it, where all of the digits along the arrow have to be different. That one has a 3-cell arrow emanating from it, and this one has actually 2 3-cell arrows emanating from it. So each of these circles I'm going to claim is at least equal to 6, therefore, because the minimum we could put into those 3 squares would be 1, 2 and 3. Now, I said let's get cracking, didn't I? I hope I did. I can't remember if I did or not. Yeah, no jokes about about forgetfulness in old age. I'm not that old yet. Now, what else can we do here then? It's going to be these diagonals somehow, isn't it, I think? I mean, actually my first inclination is to add up all the diagonals that I know the total for. So I know that diagonal adds up to 14. I know that diagonal adds up to 56, but actually I can avail myself of a secret known only to Sudoku aficionados. I also know the sum of that diagonal, don't I? And now this Sudoku secret is something I share with only my very favourite people. But of course, if you're watching this video, I will tell you what it is. The secret is that this diagonal, and indeed any complete box, any complete row, any complete column of a Sudoku, because of the rules of Sudoku, contains the digits 1 to 9, once each. If you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So I know that blue diagonal sums to 45. I know the green and the orange diagonals add up to 70. So I know those 3 diagonals add up to 115. And I'm just wondering whether we can compare that. In fact, let me just make them all the same colour, just because what I was thinking is, if I know the blue squares add up to 115, I could compare that with the 3 boxes. They seem to be, oh, they don't, no, hang on, they don't overlap quite. I thought they were going to overlap completely, but they don't quite. But that box of the Sudoku adds up to 45, this box adds up to 45, and this box adds up to 45. So the orange cells in total add up to 135, and the blue cells in total add up to 115. So the difference between the blue and the orange is 20. And we can therefore delete everything that is blue and orange, like that. And we know at this point that the orange, because we've just taken this, let me go back a stage, because I'm taking the same thing, if I remove this cell from blue and this cell from orange, then the difference between the remaining blues and the remaining oranges still has to be 20, doesn't it? Because I'm taking the same thing away. Whatever it happens to be in that square, it's coming out of the blue set and the orange set, so it's not affecting the difference between those 2 sets. So orange, these 6 orange cells add up to 20 more than the 4 blue cells. What I'm actually tempted to do there is to say, okay, well this blue arrow here adds up to the same as that blue arrow, so I'm going to restore those to blue, and I'm going to do the same down there. Now the reason I'm thinking that might be relevant is that now sudoku affects the sum a bit, doesn't it? In the sense that orange and blue do have some codependency. So if, for example, this is a 6 and this is a 1, 2, 3 triple, then these are at least adding up to 9, because the least they could be is 4 and 9. I suppose one way to think about it is that those 5 cells together must add up to 15 at least. And orange adds up to 20 more than blue. So if these were both minimumed, that would be 12, and then orange would have to add up to 32. That actually looks very straightforward. What's the maximum here? If these were double 9, which might not be possible for a Sudoku reason, but let's assume it was possible, they would be 18. 18 and 20 is 38, so orange would add up to 38, which is also fine, actually. Yeah, I mean, there might be a reason that I'm not immediately seeing, but at first blush, orange looks to me like it could be 8, 9 pairs in every box, and they would add up to 17 per box, which is 51 when we multiply 17 by 3. I'm not sure. I think I might have got this wrong, you know. This might not be how we were meant to start the puzzle at all. I just don't think there's enough pressure on the value of the orange digits. Let's go back. Sorry if I've overlooked something obvious here. I mean, it's not going... Oh, hang on. Oh, I suddenly worried that the 14 was a minimum. It's not a minimum. We could make this a 1-2 pair. We could make that a 1-2 pair, and we could make that a 1-2 pair. So those 6 cells have a minimum of 9, and those could both be 1, presumably. So that's 11. So there isn't a vast amount of freedom along this diagonal, but there is. There are degrees of freedom. I mean, yes, it's true to say that the 14 diagonal is approximately low. It's low on average because there are 8 cells on it. So the average is less than 2. Yeah, that actually is quite low, isn't it, as an average? What about, so is this one sort of the symmetrically high diagonal, this one here? Let's think about that. So these could be 8, 9. Oh no, they can't. Actually, they can't be 8, 9, can they? The maximums I could put on a 3-cell arrow is a 6. If I put 7 in here, and these were minimumed, 7 plus 1 plus 2 is 10, which is too much. So this is 6, 9. And that's going to be the same there, isn't it? That would put 6, 9 on the diagonal in the middle, because we have to put 6 and 9 on here. I'm just wondering if there's a restriction on the middle, on the diagonal, if we put the same digits in those squares. And there probably isn't, I don't know. But then we've got 30. And these could be, well, what could they be? Actually, it's nowhere near. I don't know what I was just thinking. What could we put? I don't think you could put 8 and 7 there. I think that would make these double 9. But we can make these quite big. But there's actually very little restriction. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I was going to say there's very little restriction on these. Okay, let's try something else. Let's try looking at the 2 diagonals together. I can see are overlapping most of the arrows, aren't they? So we'll try that without. Maybe I'm not meant to include the diagonal as well. Sorry, I was just assuming that was the most natural way of looking at it. But if I take the 2 diagonals only, maybe it's better to do that. Yeah, there is an awful lot of sort of coincidence, isn't there, between the diagonals and the arrows. The only differences are those two squares. So, and I suspect those two squares have to be big in order for us to get to 56. Let's have a think about that then. If they were both 9, what does that do to the remaining world? Well, what's the maximum we can make all those arrows add up to? It is... It's complicated as well, because these ones get doubled, don't they? So in the sense that if I make that 9, then obviously those 3 greens add up to 9, and those add up to 9. So if I make those both 9, then I'd get... Well, maybe, I'll tell you what we could do. We'll make these an 8-9 pair as well, and then I've got 5 lots of 9 effectively, because I've got 5 arrows that will add to 9. That's 45 plus an 8 is 53. 53 is the maximum if I max out all the arrows. And then I could add another 18 to that to get there's only one. There's 1 degree of freedom. Sorry. Okay. All right. That's huge. Right. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, I'm postulating maxing out the arrow circles, absolutely maxing them out, and maxing out these 2 cells on the diagonal which are not on the arrows. And I think if I do that, I get 71 as the total for all of those squares. But the total of the 2 diagonals is actually 70. So I can only reduce... right. So I can't... this is great. I've got digits now. I don't know. I can only reduce any one of these things by exactly 1. And if I did reduce any of them by exactly 1, and I will have to because I need to get 70, not 71... everything else will be maxed. Well, but the key point surely is that these have to be 9s, because if I did make one of these an 8 and maxed out everything else, then because this 8 gets doubled, I lose effectively an extra degree of freedom. So let's prove that to ourselves. If this is 8, we'll make this 9. We'll keep this as an 8-9 pair. And now what have we got? So we've got 2 lots of 9 here, 4 lots of 9, 5 lots of 9 is 45, plus 3 lots of 8, which is 24, and 45 and 24 is 69, which is not the same as 70. So it's not good enough. So we get 2 digits. These are definitely 9. We get... Well, we don't know what these are. They could be 8 or 9. And we don't know what these are. One of them is a 9. Oh, no, I do. So it's that one. Sorry. One of those is a 9, because if they were 8 and 7, they would add to only 15. And if they're 8 and 9, they add to 17. And we know we've got 1 degree of freedom, so we can't reduce them to 15. That would use up 2 degrees of freedom. So... one of these is a 9, and by sudoku it's that one. So, but this one we don't know what it is, because that could go as low as 7. It's 8 or 7. But we have at least got 3 digits in the puzzle, which is better than we were doing before. And okay, so by sudoku you can't put 9 on a 3-cell arrow down here. So 9 is in one of those. By symmetry 9 is in one of these. A 9 on the diagonal. What what's that doing? That's going to fix wherever the 9 is going to be in. It's going to be in one of those positions along the diagonal, and wherever it goes, my phone is buzzing, that's fine. Wherever it goes, it's going to fix. Oh, yeah, okay. I've got lucky there. I was viewing these as an 8-9 pair. That's not true. But actually, it is true once you have the correct, once you order the logic in the correct sequence, they do become an 8-9 pair. Right, so what I was doing was I was thinking about where 9 went on this diagonal. And the answer is I have no idea where it goes, but it's in one of these squares here. It's in one of those squares. And wherever it goes, what's going to happen is it's going to flip this square, which, remember, in my hypothetical example, I maxed out. I made them both 9, and then we realised there was 1 degree of freedom, so we restored that to an 8 or a 9. But because the 9 on the diagonal is in one of these squares, it will force this not to be able to be. These can't both be 9. So one of them is an 8, and that loses or uses the degree of freedom that we'd established, and that means this has to be an 8. These are an 8-9 pair. Oh, this is beautiful. Right. And if these are an 8-9 pair, that square can't be 8 or 9, because these are different now, we've just established. So they're both looking at this square by sudoku. So this is 6 or 7, which means that these diagonal, or these arrows definitely have 1s and 2s on. And they're either a 1, 2, 3 triple, or they're a 1, 2, 4 triple. And suddenly the puzzle is becoming a little bit more, or a little bit less recalcitrant, isn't it? A little bit more tractable. Now, so now we can get the sum of these squares using the secret. Because effectively we've got 17 there plus another 17 on the arrows. So those squares add up to 34. We know the box adds up to 45, so we know the purple squares add up to 11 by mathematics. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of my green, and I'm going to change the colouring. So I'm going to make these different colours because they are different. That square can't be 8. We know it's even, but because these are different, whichever one of these is 8 is looking at this from a sudoku perspective. Now, I don't think anything is really looking at that one on the diagonal. The only thing I'm seeing now, which is a little bit fatuous, but I will mention it, is that these two 9s, that they have a 3-cell arrow emanating from them. They have to be different concoctions of 9. Because imagine these were the same concoction of 9. Let's use, what colour haven't I used? Oh, red. Okay, so imagine they're both 1, 2, 6, for example. Well, that's not going to work, because by if we look at the diagonal then, an R square 1, 2, and 6 would have to go. They would have to go on top of the purple cells. And if they go on the top of the purple cells, 1, 2, and 6 add up to 9, and 9 is not the 11 that we're looking for. That would not be the droid we were looking for, because we worked out using the mathematics of the 8-9 that these squares add up to 11. So what that tells us is that the way that this... In fact, let's get rid of the orange now, and we'll make this one orange, just to tell us that the combinations of the two 9 arrows are different. Yeah, they're different, but they are going to have... They're going to have exactly one digit in common, aren't they? So if we think about the way you can make 3 digits add up to 9 in Sudoku, 3 different digits. We can have 1, 2, 6, we can have 2, 3, 4, and we can have 1, 3, 5. Now, each of those combinations has one low digit in common, a 1, 2, or a 3. So whatever that digit is that's in common between the red set of digits and the orange set of digits goes in the purple set of digits, and that will be a 1, 2, or a 3. And that will be part of a triple that adds up to 11. So if it was 1, that could be 137 or 146. If it was 2, then we need the other 2 to add up to 9 without using 18 or 27. So it would be 36 or 45. And if it was 3, it would be one's own. Well, 3 doesn't have any independent of those. 3 would require a 1 or a 2 to go in there as well. Yeah, that's still okay, because we're not saying there would be 2 digits in common. There wouldn't need to be 2 digits in common. Ooh, okay, I'm stuck. I think it's something to do, with the low digits and these 9 arrows. Because I can see how that's going to do something in the middle box. And we've got 1s and 2s pointing at those squares. Look, we might as well do that. These squares, because you can't put as much as a 7 on a 3-cell 9 arrow, this square has to be 3, 4, 5, or 6. And so does this. So there has to be... another way of thinking about 9 combinations in 3 cells is that there must be 2 low digits. So there's either going to be a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 3, or a 2 and a 3 in all the combinations. So there have to be 2 low digits. So if these weren't low digits, as in if these were not 3 for some reason, so say that was a 6, if these were not 3, then these would have to be 3s. No, these would have to include 2 digits from 1, 2, and 3, but not the same 2 digits. Because otherwise these 2 digits would be the same, and we'd have the 9 problem with the purples. Oh, hang on, it's not... Oh, I know what it might be now. Let's delete yellow. Because didn't we work out what these all added up to? Ah, yes, right, this is what we need to do. So I've done this puzzle in the wrong order. So at the start we worked out that these yellow cells, no, it was, what was it? It was these cells plus these cells, which now we know the value of, that is now 18. Plus 20, so that's 38, is equal to yellow. So yellow is equal to 38, but we know that these two are a 9-8 pair, which is 17. So the remaining yellow, these 4 cells, add up to 21. Oh, that's miserable. You naughty puzzle. I don't like that. I don't like 21 in these squares at all. Because, the average Sudoku digit is a 5. And there's 4 cells here, or 21 divided by 4 is awfully close to 5, isn't it? So it doesn't feel like these are under pressure. The reason that's making me laugh is that's really rotten. It's really rotten to give us this diagonal. To give us the diagonal and make us think it's about maths of this diagonal, it just doesn't seem to be at all. James, what am I missing here? I've got a very horrible feeling I'm missing something very, very obvious. Um, I don't know. Not sure. I don't know what I'm meant to do now. I'm probably meant to... Well, not sure I like the idea of that. I was thinking, am I meant to sort of hone in on the 14 diagonals, lack of degrees of freedom, in the sense that all these digits have... They don't have to be super low, but there can't be many massive digits along here, can there? What was the minimum? Well, yeah, okay, the minimum has changed because of the work we've done. All I'm seeing is that it's no longer acceptable for this to be a 1-2 pair. Oh, hang on. No, this is it. Right, this is it. This diagonal has changed. It's changed. I've just seen another way it's changed. What I was going to say is it's no longer possible to do that, and that is true. And the reason it's no longer acceptable to do this is if you do this, both of these are 6s, and 1, 2, and 6 are off the diagonals in boxes 3 and 7. So where do we put 1, 2, and 6 on the diagonal? Here you've got to put them in the purple cells, and that doesn't add up. So it's not acceptable any longer for these to be a 1-2, for both of these to be a 1-2 pair. So one of them could be a 1-2 pair, and one of them could be a 1-3 pair, but they can't be the same. So we've moved our minimum, which was, where was it? We were at 9, 10, 11. So we were at 11. It's now gone one higher to 12, but I can do better again, I think, because I don't think that can be a 1-2 pair. Now, I did that very quickly in my mind, and I might be wrong. I am right. I am right. Okay. The reason these can't be a 1-2 pair is what are those two digits then? They both have to be 7. By maths. Because we know that those squares add up to 17. So if these were a 1-2 pair, these have to add up to 14. But we're not allowed to use 8 or 9. So that's impossible. It's impossible to do it. So these are not a 1-2 pair. So these are at least a 1-3 pair. And hang on, maybe it's better. Maybe it's better here. Because this digit can never be a 1, because that would always be an 8. So that's at least a 2. I'm not sure how big that can be. I mean, if this was... We know this is at least a 1-3 pair, so this can be a 1. But if this was, say this was a 1-5, that would be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, that doesn't work. This can't be 5. Because if this is 6, yeah, I mean, I've got to, I suppose what I should do is keep a more careful count of the degrees of freedom. So at the moment, we could have 1-3 here, 1-2 here, or vice versa, obviously. And that's 7. I could have 8, 9, and then this can't be 1-2. So I'm up to 13. So I've got 1 degree of freedom from the absolute minimums, and an absolute minimum is when you put 1 and 3 here. So I can never put 1 and 5. I'll use up too much real estate. So these cannot add up to as much as 6. So this is 1, 2, or 3. Because if it's 4, because this can't be 1, 4 and 2 would be 6, which is too many. So this is 1, 2, or 3. This is 5, 6, or 7. And this is 5, 6, or 7, because that must be now 2, 3, or 4. So these, suddenly we are actually getting a bit of restriction. Now, this is 1 or 2, I think. And I think that must be the same here. I'm going to double check that, but I don't think this can be as high as 3. Because now I'll have 4 there, plus another 4 there is 8, plus another 4 there is 12, plus at least 3 here is 15. Yeah, that's right. So this is 1 or 2, which means this is 7 or 8. So this is 7 or 8, and no, I thought I was going to get a sudoku answer or a result there. Right, and I've got to be very careful now, because this is not true, what I've got pencil marked here, because I could increase my 1, 2 and 1, 3 minimum by 1 in either case, in either way round. So these are from 1s, 2s, 3s and 4s, I think. Which feels a bit interesting. The only way you could put 4s in here would be with 2, 3 pairs into the other cells. And it would have to be 4, 1. Oh, hang on, no. You can't put 4, 1. Oh, that's gorgeous if that's right. Am I right about that? I think I am. 4, 1 is not a valid combination on a 9 arrow because the other digit would be a 4. And if 4, 1 is not valid, then I'd have to use 4 and 2 if I want to use a 4 in either of these squares. But if I use 4 and 2, then these would add up to 6. And when I did my minimums, I used 1, 2 and 1, 3. So the maximum of those would be a 1 and a 3, which is 4. And I've said there's 1 degree of freedom, so I could make that 1, 3 1 higher by making it 2, 3. But I can't ever make it 1, 4. Because that's just not going to work as a valid option. So I don't think I can use 4 on here. Which means, same by logic, I can't use 4 on there. And now we've got somewhere very interesting. Don't call me out on your your expressed desire never to meet me at a party. But now, these are the 2 low digits that happen on the 9 arrows. Because these must be from 1, 2 and 3, which means this is not from 1, 2 and 3. Because otherwise the 9 arrow would add up to 6. So this is a 4, 5 or a 6, and that is a 4, 5 or a 6. Oh, bother. that's actually not done anything. Oh dear. Where are we then in terms of this 56 diagonal? Is this somehow under pressure now? So yeah, okay, we can't make those both 6 because that will make these also 1, 2 and make these add up to 9. So these are a maximum of a 6, 5 pair, which is 11. We know these are different, so that's 17. So now we're up to 28. We don't know that these are different, so I think they could be 16. So now we're up to 44. And these could be 6 and 7, presumably. Which is 13, which is 57. So there is 1 degree of freedom from the absolute maximum. So it's all getting very, very close now. So doesn't that mean one of these has to be a 6? Because if these were 4, 5, yeah, we'd use up 2 degrees of freedom compared to my 5, 6 max. So one of these is a 6, which means one of these is a 1, 2 pair. Which Something going on here. These, whatever that is, it is not the same as this, but it has to have a digit in common. These are not the digits in common. So the digit in common between the red and the orange triples goes in here and can't go in there. And that must be a 1, 2 or a 3. And at the moment, when I calculated my degrees of freedom, I was working on this being a 1 and a 3. Hang on. There is definitely something going on here. So if these have 1, if red and orange have a 1 in common, i.e. they're a 1, 2, 6 in one case and a 1, 3, 5 in the other, then 1 goes in there. And that makes the minimum these can add up to be 5. They could be a 2, 3 pair. And these would be 5. And 5 would be being added to 7, because we'd have a 1, 2 and a 1, 3 in some order on these, and those would be double 1. But how does it work if 2 is the digit in common? I'm going to lose. I'm always losing my degree of freedom in the middle box. That's what I'm thinking. I might be wrong, but I think I'm always losing it here. So if 2 is the digit in common between these, then 2 in the middle box goes in purple. 2 cannot be in these squares. And you might say, well, that's fine, because these could be 1, 3. Well, yes and no. Because I've lost a degree of freedom here if 2 is the digit in common. Because if 2 is the digit in common, it's a 2, 1 and a 2, 3 pair. And a 2, 1 adds up to 3. The 2, 3 adds up to 5, so that's 8. And the 1, 3 here gives you 12. So these have to be double 1 again. And if 3 is the digit in common, we know that these are a 3, 1 and a 3, 2, which is 9. And then 3 can come out of here. Now that might just not work, because we know that this can't be a 1, 2 pair. But even if it did work, they would still be 12. So this is always double 1, which means these are always double 8. Which means what? Is that doing something? Is that doing something magical from a sudoku perspective? Maybe it's doing something. Where's 1 in box 1 now? I don't quite know, but it's definitely in one of 2 places. It's got to be here, hasn't it? So 1 on this, we know there's a 1 in one of those squares, and I now know where that is. So that's better than we were doing. So this is now not a 1. That's not a 1 by sudoku. So that's got to be a 1, which makes this a 1. And if that's a 1, that's a 7 by mathematics. So this is not 7. Now, what has that done? Well, it's given me a 1 here as well, actually, by sudoku. Now that's not a 1. Oh, it feels like it's doing something, doesn't it? That's not a 1 either. This can't be a 2, because that would need this to be a 7. So now this is 3 or 4, and this is 5 or 6. So 2 is now in purple. And if 2 is in purple, then I want to say that 2 must be the common digit between these two. Is that wrong or is that right? I'm not sure, because I'm not sure it couldn't still be 3 as the common digit. Although, didn't I think 3 couldn't work as the common digit because it broke this? Let's check that again. Because that was certainly a thought I was having at some point. If 3 is the common digit, then one of these is 1, 3, one of them is 2, 3. They add up to 9, 10, 11, 12, and that's at least a 3, as it can't be 2, so that's wrong. So 2 is the common digit. So there is a 2 in here. Whoops. There is a 2 in here. And now, one of these is 1, 2. One of them is 2, 3. 2, 3 is 5. 1, 2 is 3. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. And this has to be a 3 to make the maths work. So that's 3. That's 6. And this diagonal is now 2, 4, 5, of all things. And also, this is a beautiful puzzle, by the way. This is so clever. There's weird interactions going on everywhere, but now I know what this pair of digits is. Because one of these is 2, 3, that's going to go with a 4 here, and one of these is 2, 1, which is going to go with a 6 here, so 5 drops out of the equation. Oh, this is gorgeous. Yeah. Okay. Which means one of these, or in one of these two digits, is a 4. So this can't be 7, because that will cause this to be 1, 2, 4, and this to be 1, 2, 4, and you couldn't have a 4 in these squares. So that's 6, which means these are now definitely 2, 3 pairs. That's definitely not a 6 or a 2, so that's 4 or 8. It's not 4. 4's appeared on the diagonal, so that's 8. That's 9 now, which means that's 8 by the fact it's got to be different. 9 is in one of two. Whoopsie. 9 is in one of two places in box thingy thing, the technical term for box 1. And gosh, it does sound quite like spring is in the air. I don't know if you can hear all the bird song in the background, but it's quite abundant today. Right. So what do we do now? Can we actually go forward with any more alacrity, or are we going to get zugzwanged again? I don't know yet. 2, 4, 5. So 5 is definitely in yellow there, and 5 I think is also going to be in yellow there. And we had to make yellow overall add up to 21, didn't we? So we've got 11 more to find in yellow at this point. Well, okay, but 4 is going to go in one square, one of these squares. So in the other box, there is going to be a 4 in one of these. So that means that these squares are from 4, 5, and 7 only. Which is, it's interesting. It doesn't seem to do anything. So two yellows are 5, and then the others are 4 and 7. Where is 8 in box 9? It's in the corner, I've just noticed. Can we do any better than that? 8's not there by Sudoku. Don't think we can. Oh, where is 1 in box 3? And that's interesting. How did I get a 1 here? Is that legitimate? That is legitimate. Yeah, that's fair then. That's a 1, but we know there's a 2 on this little edge thing. So this is 2, 1, 2. That's got to be 6, which means that's got to be 4. These have to be a 2, 3 pair now. But if that's 4, this one is the one that's got to have the 5, 7 pair in it, which means this one has the 4, 5 pair in it. These two squares are now known. They've got to be a 3, 7 by Sudoku, and the 3 can't go. 3 can't go in the corner. That's interesting, isn't it? So that's doing all sorts of things. Where is 3 in this box? It's got to go there by Sudoku. That does the 3 and the 2 over on this side of the grid. And all of a sudden, we're in much better shape. These are 1, 6, 9. Well, the 1 has to go there by Sudoku. This is a 6, 9 pair, which might be resolved. I'm not sure. That's a 9 by Sudoku, just using my pencil mark. So that's a 9 by Sudoku, that's a 9 by Sudoku, that's a 9 by Sudoku, and that's a 6 by Sudoku. And that's a 6 by Sudoku. I mean, it's outrageous being made. Oh, there's an 8, 6 pair in that box now. It's outrageous being made to do Sudoku in all these Sudoku puzzles, but needs must. Now, this is a 2, 4, 5. This is a 2. Oh, no, it doesn't get resolved. It is 2 from 2, 4, and 5. Can we get that digit? No. Can we get those digits? Well, no. But we do now know that that digit is a 6, I think, by Sudoku. Okay, so we'll take that. There's a 6 in one of these. And have a brief pause while we think about where the next natural digit could be extracted. I've got 4s, 5s and 7s all over the piece here. Can I do this 2, 3 pair? Don't know. Don't think so. Where could we look next then? Have we done all of the arrows that we're allowed to do? Probably. Probably. I'm not certain. I think we sort of have, haven't we? So it ought to just be Sudoku at this juncture. What's that digit? That's definitely not 6. So it's almost restricted, isn't it? But not quite restricted enough. That's not 7, I've just noticed, because of this 7 up here. How many 9s have we got in the grid? Oh, actually loads. So I ought to be able to... I can get a 9 up here. For what that's worth, let's try and do that. How many 1s have we got in the grid? Also loads. I can also get a 1 in the grid up here. 2s? Oh, no. 2s are much worse. 3s? I've got a few 3s, but there's a 3 up there. Ah, where is 3 in this box? Look, that's interesting. It's got to be in one of these 2 squares, and that is going to resolve my 2, 3 pair there. Takes 2 out of this square. Does it do more? I don't know. I don't know that it does, actually. Bobbins is the technical term. Okay, what about... Is it 2, 4, 5 and 7 into these squares? Gosh, I'm going to have to go on a full pencil marking quest here, I think. Oh, look at that digit. That's got to be a 4 or a 5, because it can't be a 2 or a 7. And that seems to give me a 4, 5 pair in the top row. So 3, 6 and 8. Oh, this is a naked single now. That's got to be a 3. That's a 6 or an 8. Now, does that 3 do anything? apart from maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't do very much. I've got the 6-8 pair as well. So I've got the sort of the eternal 2-4-5-7 quadruple rearing its ugly head. I've got a lot of symmetry as well. Look at these 4-5 pairs branching out of box 3. That's a 7. Oh, look, 7 can be placed in box 6. And that's useful. So that gets me 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4. All of those go in a little streak of... Oh, that's a 4 in that row now. So that's a 7. So that's a 7. A little flurry of activity. Very welcome. Oh, I thought I was going to get 7 in box 2, but I'm not. But that's no longer 4. So the central digit is a 4. That's often, normally it's a 5 in these puzzles, but no, today it is a 4. And we need 3, 5 and 8 over on the left hand side. So let's pencil mark that up. Take 3 out of there and take 8 out of here. What can we do? I've got 4 here now, so my even square has become a 2. Is that going to do anything? You nearly. 2 is in one of those squares. 2 is in one of these squares. Ah, no, not quite. Alright. What about 4 in this column? Can we do? No, we can't do that. 4 is in one of 2 places in box 4. 5 here, sorry, that's been available since we got the 4 5s sorted out. So that becomes 8 now. Now, oh, I still don't quite know where 8's going. What about, does this 7 do something? This column needs 3, 4 and 5, so that's become a naked single 4. This is 3 or 5. Whoopsie. I want, goodness only knows. I want to make it 3 or 5, please. And this row, 5 here, sorry, we can do more Sudoku. 2, 5, 2, 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, 3. Okay, that is better, isn't it? That is much better. And these 2 squares are 2 and 7. Oh yeah, we can do that. Sorry, I was ignoring the fact there is a 2 staring at them. And these need 4 and 7, which we can do. And these squares in this box need to be 2, 6 and 7, so we can do that now, which does the 8, 6, 8 thing finally. And in this row we need 5 and 6, and that looks right, doesn't it? Because it's completing this box. So Sudoku looks okay. Let's click tick. Yes. Gosh, 191 people have done that in 5 days. Wow. Well done. I mean, I think that's quite hard. I do actually. I found that quite difficult. I found it very clever. It's really clever. I mean, it's almost stunningly clever how these diagonals have been pitched so perfectly so that the degree of freedom, you can sort of work away at them and then calculate where that degree of freedom, especially on this diagonal, where it had to be used up. That's beautiful. It was really beautiful. Yeah, it's a fascinating puzzle. 70 indeed. You need a higher IQ than 70, I'd suggest, to solve that, and a much higher IQ than 70 to set it. James Sinclair, take a bow. Brilliant. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.